6:34 p.m. Welcome to the October 14th, 2025 regular meeting of the Stoughton School Committee. That's us. This meeting is being recorded by SMAC for future broadcasting. It's on, thank you. We're going to start a little differently today by taking a portion of the South School presentation out of order. So please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance led by the students of South Elementary, followed by the South School students' announcements.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Buenos dias. Bon dia. Bonjour, School Committee. This is Ms. Wood and the South School students, and these are the evening announcements. Let's stand for the pledge. So that's when we usually do the Pledge of Allegiance. Now it is time for a moment of silence. You may be seated. Today is Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. Tomorrow's weather is cloudy with a high of 61 degrees. It is now time for the Peace Builders Pledge. I am a peace builder. I pledge to praise people, to give up put downs, to seek wise people, to notice and speak up about protect cause, to right wrongs, to help others. I will build peace at home, at school, and in my community each day. Have a fantastic Tuesday, School Committee, and we will see you around the building.
Thank you all so much. That was fabulous. All right, next we have public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? Don't think we do. Doesn't appear so. Okay, perfect. Yes.
A moment. I'm hoping we can have a little bit of discussion about taking things out of order.
Sure.
And see what we should be doing for the rest of the year.
I'll allow it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any school committee members have thoughts about being able to take items out of order? Is it something that we should do at the beginning of every meeting, or should we have a set policy for the remainder of the school year?
No.
I don't have any issue with it when it's helped to facilitate our guests.
Okay. Jen?
I was going to say the same thing. These people are waiting. They shouldn't have to sit through our whole meeting. Take them first and get it over with.
Okay.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Is there a policy in place for that?
Not at the moment.
Yes, there is. There is a policy for taking things out of meeting agenda items out of order. There is, and there's precedence.
Agreed, but it is something that the school committee has the ability to adjust if there is a vote of the school committee.
Right.
Majority vote. Right.
Right, that's part of the policy. So there is a policy in place for it. All we have to do is follow the policy.
I'll make a motion that for the rest of the year, we just change the agenda meeting to accommodate all our guests, so they're not staying here for an hour or even 20 minutes longer than they have to. I think that's just basic courtesy that we can offer them. And hopefully we'll be able to do this without voting each and every single time, because, of course, that takes everyone's time away while we're voting.
Okay. If I might reframe your motion,
Please.
just for clarity, Are you granting the chair discretion to take items out of order to accommodate guests to the school committee meetings?
I am,
Okay, so you are making that motion?
yes.
Okay, so the motion was been made by Armando. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
I think that there's a policy in place for this. I think just allowing any discretion for the role of the chair is beyond the scope of the chair. These are committee discussions and committee agendas. The agenda belongs to the committee. So I am in agreement that we would take things out of order to accommodate our guests, and that they don't need to be done every time, but solely for that. I would want it to be solely for that, and not just complete discretion for anything on here. So just for the ability to allow our guests to not have to sit through a full meeting.
I agree. I think that's what we should do. It's just plain courtesy, and we appreciate our guests coming here and speaking to us on payday, away from the family and so on, and if we could just hurry up and get them out of here so they can go home with me with the family, I think it's a good thing to do, and the school committee should promote that.
All right, so once again, if I understand everybody correctly, the motion currently on, that's been made is to grant the chair the discretion to take items out of order to accommodate guests to the school committee meeting. I believe that was what I had said the first time.
Can you say it again?
Yes. The motion is that, that the chair has the discretion to take agenda items out of order to accommodate guests at school committee meetings.
Out of order to accommodate guests.
That is what you said, correct?
I would agree with that.
Okay. All right, so the motion has been moved and seconded. There's any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. With that being said, I would like to respectfully request that we take the agenda out of order and let the principal of the South School present to us.
All right. Hi. Thank you so much for inviting me to share a little bit about the South School tonight. So I will keep this brief because I know you have a big agenda tonight, so I don't want to take away all that time. But I do want to thank all the 4th and 5th grade students for coming this evening and giving us a taste of what our morning announcements look like. We have lots and lots and lots of students participate in morning announcements throughout the year, and I'll get to that slide in a second. Mrs. Wood, who's in the back, call her the voice of the South. She gets on every morning and afternoon and does morning and evening announcement or afternoon announcements of the school. It's just part of our community. It's a community builder, something we added over the last couple of years. So I thank you all for being present today and doing that for us. I thought that was great. Thanks, guys. All right, I'm going to be quick, and then we'll go out in the lobby, okay? All right, so a little bit about the South Elementary School. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about not what we do in that is just district related, like curriculum and how we're doing with our performance on MCAS and those things, because I think I've been here before and I've shared that information. So I wanted to kind of tailor this to what makes the South unique and different from the rest of the elementary schools, because I think we do a lot of really cool things that make us special. These are the topics really quickly. I'm going to spend like less than a minute on each of these, and then I'm happy to answer any questions or follow up at a later date. Just throwing that out there. That has a very cool Shark Black Knight logo that could be adopted at some point. It's amazing what AI can do for you. Dr. B, are you my clicker today? Thank you, sir. So a little bit, one of the programs that we run at the South is the Sharks and Minnows program. In a nutshell, it's an advisory program. I presented on this at MSAA the last 2 years. It is a program that we do that is a community builder. It is a advisory program that all 270 students this year take part in. All of my staff take part in. All of the students grades K to 5 have a group that they're assigned to, a multi-age group. During those sessions, they have the opportunity to do like a rose and a thorn, kind of an SEL component of the lesson where they get to share something good and something that's working on, or something happy and something that maybe not so happy. A lot of ways just to share with those students around them, make friendships. And the most important piece was we did this to help students identify another trusted adult in the building that they would be building a relationship with. So a lot of people know really your most trusted adult is the teacher you have from year to year, but that relationship tends to end at the end of a school year. So we're creating a 6-year relationship that students will have when they're with us through K through 5th grade. And we also do fun activities like scavenger hunts and things like that. They take place on early Thursdays, which are a shorter day. So we tend to do this at the beginning of early Thursdays as an opportunity in our community. It's been very successful. And this is our selfies that we do at the beginning of the year with our groups. Moving on, so the South School Theater Program is entering its 5th year, which is kind of wild that we're going to be doing our 5th performance. It has grown tremendously over the past few years. It has changed shape and form as we've kind of gone through different opportunities of how we fund programming within the district and at the South School. Currently, we do a tuition-based model, which is one of the reasons that we are able to hold this program. We have 42 students in the program this year. They just started rehearsals this morning. They'll have a production in May. I know Mrs. Miller has been to the productions before. I know Mrs. Stefano has been to the productions before, and several other. Ms. Shannon, I think you were at a daytime one potentially. So it's an awesome performance. They've done the whole year working on it. This year they're actually doing Junie B. Jones the musical, so you will all get a invitation to that later on this year. We also have a partnership with OMS and SHS that brings former South School students back to help out with production, rehearsals, and day of. And they just spend a lot of time with the kids, which is an awesome opportunity for both our high school and middle school students as well as our elementary students. And again, that program went from 10 students in 2021 to 42 this year, which is pretty great. The next slide talks about our student-led announcements. So this was an initiative actually Ms. Wood and I talked about a couple of years ago, and we were like, the kids should be the voices that we hear every morning, not the adults. And so that's one of the reasons we put this into place. Any student is eligible to be a part of this in 4th and 5th grade, to be a part of the morning and afternoon announcements. A lot of it goes off of like, hey, I'd like to do that one day, and then Mrs. Wood kind of gets them ready to go, and then they join us for a couple of days and do announcements. It's a great opportunity. There's no prerequisite, no requirement. You get the script, you try it out, you see if it's for you, and then you can come back again and do it another time. Her groups range from 2 kids to 5 kids, depending on the interest, and it's just a really great opportunity to start the day. It includes elements. The Peace Builders Pledge actually came out of a group in Oakland that worked on practicing nonviolent and then anti-bullying curriculum, and the Peace Builders Pledge is something that came out of that program, and we've been implementing that for about 2 years now. So, Leaders or Readers. I think everyone in this room has been a part of Leaders or Readers before. It's something unique that we do. We invite our communities, our leaders within the community in each year as part of this program. They get to read to students, share a little about what their job is within the community, and just have an opportunity to interact and share and give back. And the students love having the readers. It's just a nice day all around that we've continued to do. It's been over 20 years of this happening at the South, and we're happy that it's been able to continue with a brief hiatus over COVID. The next one is our Shark Awards. That's something that's been implemented the last 5 years. It has kind of taken many shapes over the year. We introduced the acronym SHARK, not just our mascot Shark, but SHARK stands for Safe, Hardworking, Accountable, Respectful, and Kind. It is what we work on. It's our mantra. It's also our PBIS model, if you're familiar with PBIS. It's our positive behavior system. And we have tied in the Character Strong curriculum the last few years to be the focus of each of our assemblies where we give out our awards each month. All students are eligible to be a Shark Award. We give out Shark Classroom Awards, Specialist Awards, Special Education Awards, EL Awards. It's a really awesome opportunity. Mr. Pickett loves to join us for those events as a former Shark. I think he wants to get an award one of these days. They also get to go to our vending machine, which is a curriculum initiative at all the elementary schools. So that is your ticket to going to the book vending machine and having a one-on-one book choice session with one of our reading teachers to choose a just right text. Which is an awesome opportunity. So we appreciate the support from the district for purchasing those cool things for us. And then the last thing I wanted to focus on was we really made it a focus of ours to prepare our students for middle school, starting at the very beginning of grade 5, because it is a tough transition. Elementary school is the longest you spend at actually one school in this district. You spend 6 years. It's longer than the high school, longer than the middle school. And by the end, you're really familiar with the people who are around you, but it's a big change to go to middle school. We've heard a lot about that, gotten a lot of feedback. So some things we've done, and I actually have one of my 5th grade teachers with me here tonight. Miss Savoya's over there. There's a shout out. So a couple of things we have done is we do, the students move classes for math. So there's 3 different math classes that they actually rotate, similar to the style in the middle school where you have a different teacher for a different subject area. We use our win blocks with our different teachers, the what I need block. We actually shifted the earliest available lunchtime this year to kind of get students used to eating in the morning time, closer to the beginning of the day, because that is a change for middle school, where we had traditionally been using the later block for 5th grade. And then we've also started to do some, like, what do I do next visits. So we had a partnership. Mr. Ford was really helpful in this process, getting us connected with Curry College, promoting it for the district. We did a 5th grade visit last year, which every elementary school is going to be doing this year in 5th grade, and getting to see, like, what does a college campus look like? What can I do in college? Why should I go to college if that's the choice that I want to go? And it's a really great local community to partner with. And then we've been adding to that as well. So we're really focusing on what's next in 5th grade, and not just that, I'm leaving 5th grade and this is the end of my time at the South. Last slide is just some of the things that we do at the South that I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about, but I wanted to bring up partnerships with, like, Safe Routes to School, the Pumpkin Patch, different things we do, communication, partnerships with Stoughton Extended Day, just different things that we're doing within our culture that I think have really made us unique at the South Elementary School. So I do have one more thing for you guys. We have a gift for myself and the PTO. It is a little that I'll pass out before I go, with also an invitation to the Pumpkin Patch, which couldn't have been better timing, this Sunday from 12 to 4. So I hope if you're available, you can come stop by, support the South Elementary School. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions, but thank you so much for inviting me, and I appreciate the time.
Any questions for Principal Dorr?
I have one.
Yes.
How are you doing for space?
Let's just say I'm glad we're building a new school. We're definitely maxed out on space. We're using every possible location. We have spaces that we're doubled up in. As Dr. B likes to point out, we have a building where you can, like, see the room with the nails coming through from the roof. It happens to be a counseling office, so it is what it is. It's the space that we have, but we make the most of it. We've been, I think, very successful in that space, and we'll continue to be until the doors close. So,
Very good.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, not so much for Principal Dorr, but for the chair. I love hearing about this stuff. It's great. I'm just wondering why it's on the agenda? Or is this something that you're instituting where all the schools are going to come in and do this kind of thing as this is what we do at the schools to present to the public?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, it's an opportunity for the schools to come in and talk about, as Principal Dorr said, what makes them unique, what's interesting about their school, what they take pride in about their school. In part to inform the school committee members. Sometimes we're only associated with one school, a neighborhood school, or a school that our kid might be at. It's good for us to be aware of what's going on in all of the schools. And it's also a chance to educate the community on the many fabulous things that we are doing in our Stoughton schools. Armando?
You know what, it's good for me? I like the fact that the kids come in and my energy goes up. And I just feel great about being part of the school committee. And I'd like to see more of them.
So I think the
you.
second part of that was, are we expecting the other elementary schools, middle school and high school, to also be coming in?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes.
All principals and are
Thank you.
working to come to the school committee. They have detailed dates to come before you. The next one is the DAW school, and then so on and so forth, and we're just throughout the year.
Okay, so this is going to be a regular thing.
Throughout the year, you'll get to see that one visit and presentation from that school, how they decide to present to you.
Okay, and then, let's just say the last one is the high school. And then does it turned back? Is that what the plan is?
The idea would be to do this once a year, so,
Okay.
because there's different things happening in all of our schools. And it's an opportunity for you to potentially get some information about the school that you normally wouldn't get. And it also, because it does air on SMAC, it's an opportunity for that school to actually reach the rest of the community versus OMS and SHS, where everybody goes. If you stay in Stoughton Public Schools, the other students are all coming from the different elementary schools. So that was
So
the
which
thought.
school is next?
The next school is the DAW. I will send you an email with the calendar of events, because they are very specific, and yes, the high school is last.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll send,
Best for last, maybe?
I'll send the calendar.
Subjective. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, Karen?
No, you answered both parts.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much for coming. It was so great to see you guys and have you as a part of our meeting today.
Oh, you gonna take a picture?
Yes, all right, quick pause for pictures.
Stuffy in here, always. Especially when there's so many people. Well, you lose all of this. There's no reason for it. The setup is ridiculous. And it's uncomfortable for any of the guests. It's poorly thought out.
All right, are we ready to continue? No problem. Okay, moving on through the agenda, we have our student advisory representative, Gabrielle Teodoro. Teodoro, I missed the O there, apologies there. Yeah. But you do not have an update, is that correct? Okay, and of course, you're welcome to stay as long as you like. But we're glad to have you tonight. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Perfect. Next on the agenda are the school committee norms. So as a reminder for the public, the school committee worked with Paul Zinni on July 22nd to develop operating norms. Creating these norms will help ensure that we are all on the same page on how to best move the school committee business forward. School committees, to our knowledge, have never had them before, and we feel that it will set a positive example for future school committees. These norms are simply being adopted for this particular school year. We can reassess at the end of the school year if these norms are working for us and if we need to modify them going forward. So the norms are laid out for you. They're also in your packet. So at this point, you should have had a chance to review. So I was wondering if I could get a motion to adopt the school meeting norms created on July 22nd. Okay, that motion was made by Armando. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Jen Sears. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Karen?
Anyone else want to start before me? All right. I want to just verify some of the things. The cost was $1,350 for this. Is that correct?
I believe that was correct, yes.
You're not sure? Did you know when you
It was
scheduled?
1,000 when we booked it.
I'm
but
sorry,
we-
I wasn't done.
I wasn't done either.
No,
I'm
I was still
answering your
asking the question. No, I was
Oh,
still asking the
okay.
question.
Go ahead.
Did you know when you booked it that how much it was going to be?
No, because we
No,
had to
okay.
reschedule a second night because we didn't have a quorum, so it increased the cost. I knew how much the original cost was.
How much was the original cost?
$1,000.
$1,000.
Yes.
And then it ended up $1,350 because there wasn't a quorum. And where did that come from?
That came from the school committee budget. We have a line item for professional development.
And how much is our budget yearly, or at least this year? How much was it?
It varies, it's usually around, what, 26?
Yeah,
You don't know how much it was
yeah,
unknown.
can't answer that off the top of my head, but I can get that
You didn't know
information for you
before
if
you
you like.
started this? Okay. And how much is in there now?
Once again, I can get that
You
information
don't know
for
how
you.
much is in there now, unknown. Okay. We did the MASC role of the chair. Did that cost anything?
Yes, it did.
How much did that cost?
That was, I think, $1,000 as well. Yeah.
We don't know. So do we
No,
know
I
if we
knew
went?
at the time, Karen, but that was back in June. I do not necessarily keep these running tallies in my head, so.
Please call me by my name, not by my first name.
Karen
I
Powers,
asked.
then.
Ms. Powers would be excellent.
Okay.
So we don't know how much is in there now. We don't know if we went over budget.
I'd like to move so we have a motion.
part of it.
No, it's not. We have
It
a
is.
motion and a second on the table. The discussion is about the norms specifically.
This is about the norms. The part of the norms is the budget and how much we pay for these.
That
That
is
is
not
part of
one
it.
of the norms on here. It is
That
not
doesn't
one of
mean we
the
don't
norms.
talk about how much it cost. We can still talk about how much, because it was about professional development. How much professional development is, that's all within our purview is
May I
budget.
suggest that if Dr. Baera or Heidi, they have a good eye on the budget, they can send you all the information so we can move on with the meeting?
You can do that, but that's not just for our knowledge, that's for the public's knowledge.
Sure.
Budget should be open for
It is.
everyone to see.
It is.
So that's why
It
I'm
is.
asking now, so that
Isn't that
everyone
budget
knows
on
how
the
much it
website?
cost. How much we were supposed to have in the budget, and whether we went over with this because we've had previous professional developments. So I'm just wondering, did we go over budget? Do we not have any left over for
We
the
did not
rest
go
of the
over
year?
budget. Made sure that we had money in the budget to cover these items. Of course, one was for the last school year. Anything after July 1st is for this school year.
Okay, so you're going to get for me how much we have left and how
Point
much
of
was
order.
this one?
This has nothing to do with the motion, and that.
Agreed.
You have to
Absolutely
go
does.
back to the motion on the floor, and right now, we're not on the motion on the floor. The motion on the floor is about the norms.
About adopting-
Not the budget. The budget can come up later, but point of order, you're breaking Robert's Rule of Order right now, and I know that's
No.
a big thing for you.
Yeah.
No,
That's
we're not
about the
breaking Robert's
norms.
rules,
Yeah.
because the norms is also, it's about the professional development. And asking how much is not breaking Robert's rules, that's part of the discussion.
So you have been heard. We will get the budget information to you and exactly how much has been spent on professional development, but I would like to turn the discussion back to the motion that's currently in play. Any discussion on the motion currently on the floor?
Yes. This was put into place because of a letter that we received from Ms. Lori Jakes and someone else that was upset about that they heard some discourse on the school committee. That's how it came about?
No, not necessarily.
That's what you had said in another
It's
meeting.
one of,
so
it's one of the reasons,
All right,
yes.
what were the other reasons?
Once again, this is out of order. It's not, if you wanted to discuss the cost of this
Should be
and the
discussed.
content of this, it should have been done when we brought it up for discussion in June.
Well, we're talking about the content now.
We're talking about adopting the norms. That is the
Right.
motion on the table right
Well,
now.
people should know how it came up. I mean, just because they weren't here in June or July or whenever. When did we vote on this going to be our professional development? When was that vote?
We talked
of the
about it.
policy.
So you brought the same point up last time.
Right.
And I told you it was in the minutes that were right in front of you at that time.
There was no, okay, so that's why, because I looked it up. I actually rewatched it,
Mm-hmm.
and there wasn't a vote that I saw. So now I'm asking, when was the vote? Because I
It was
watched the
discussed
June
in June.
17th.
There
It
was
wasn't
no vote.
discussed. There was an announcement at the very end that this was happening, but
Point
it
of order.
wasn't a
We have a
vote.
motion on the floor, and we need to discuss that motion. Do you have any comments pertinent to the motion at hand?
I have a point of order that we violated policy.
Okay,
Policy BIBA, by not voting of whether we were going to do this or not. Part of policy BIBA is that we vote on the workshops and the professional development. And that way we know ahead of time how much it costs. We can ask these questions. We never had the opportunity to do that. And so policy has been violated.
Okay.
So we shouldn't even be doing this right now because a policy has been violated. I mean, we're going to talk about
No, in
violating
June.
norms?
June 17th, whenever that meeting was, I don't know exact date. We said our next meeting was going to be professional development. We even had it at 5 o'clock earlier.
Yep.
Because I know, because of my own summer job, I had to move a lot of things to attend that, and make sure I was at that meeting.
Yep.
So we did do that June 17th.
So if you had
Sorry.
an objection, it should have been
Did you
raised
vote
at
on
that
it?
time.
Yes, we.
You
we
voted
took-
to have that, 'cause I watched the whole thing.
We discussed it, and we said we were going to June, whatever the date was in July, I
Yeah.
don't remember the exact date.
But
that
that
we
was
were
for the
gonna-
executive session.
No, to
that
have a
wasn't
past
for this.
Okay,
professional
all right.
development.
At this point, let's
We
please,
we never voted to do this.
let's please bring it back to
Wasn't.
the operating norms and the motion on the floor. Any discussion about the operating norms?
Are we going through?
I have no additional
Okay,
on that.
No comments.
okay. Karen?
So on the first one, I'm going to look at this one. I don't know if you'd rather look at this one.
No, the one would be, yeah, second one, I'm not sure why that was included in there, so, yeah.
All right. So put students first. That's redundant because that's policy BA and BCA. So I don't know why it's in a norm because it's policy. So it's not one that even needs to be in there. Assume positive intent, that should be a given anyway, but that's what everyone wants for themselves. That's not necessarily given. So I would hope that everyone is giving that, not just expecting it. Resolve issues during the meeting. It's impossible to say that every issue that we are going to have at this meeting is going to be resolved at every meeting. It's impossible. You
Ms.
can't do
Fowles,
it.
That's related to getting it done within the meeting and not take it out into the parking lot and discussing it outside the meeting. It's to be done within a meeting content. If you don't finish in one meeting, you do it within another meeting, but stay in the meeting. Once you're outside, we're not in session, and therefore, we don't resolve or discuss things, even if just two of us. That's the norm.
That's First Amendment. You're allowed to talk about things outside of a meeting. That's crazy. If I wanted to talk to Ms. DiStefano about something that happened in a meeting, we're allowed to do that. That's not something that's a meeting norm.
It's a norm we're agreeing to. We're not violating anyone's First Amendment or any other
You
amendment
can't
for
tell,
that
you
matter.
can't tell people not to talk about things.
Wait,
I'm
wait,
not,
wait.
we're not
So-
telling you, I'm telling
not.
myself, I'm
And
not going to do it.
if that's what you want, it does
It's-
need to be reworded.
We agreed to do this.
Yeah.
Each one of us agreed.
People who
by
are in the
ourselves.
workshop agreed to these norms.
That's
I'm not
correct.
agreeing to this now. And that's what that's what we're discussing now.
So if you don't agree with it, we'll just have the
We'll
vote
have the
and we'll
vote.
go forward.
I assume that's what you're going to do anyway, but I'm at least going to say that that's questionable. There's a lot to question on that one, because it sounds like what you're saying is everything has to be resolved in the meeting. So maybe it needs to be reworded to however what you just said.
Yeah, the intent was to keep it, when we took part in the
It
meeting.
needs to be reworded, so that it
when we
doesn't
took
sound
part
like
in
it's
the
all
meeting,
stopped
We all
here.
understood. You weren't there, so you didn't understand the intent.
I watched it. I saw everything that happened. I saw
So you do
everything you
understand the
guys
intent,
said.
there's no need for questioning.
But there's no, so it needs to, if it's going to be written and you're going to hold people's feet to the fire, then it needs to be clear.
Each one of us will hold ourselves feet to the fire. I'm
Unless
not
you're
gonna
saying
hold-
point of order
no
for
one's going
somebody
to-
else.
No one's going to, it's a reminder. If Chris was to violate the norm, I said, Chris, remember our norms? That's all.
Right,
There's
that's what you're
no-
going to do.
if
So
she-
if you're
if
going
she
to do that,
chooses
it
to
should be
continue to-
clear. So it should say, resolve any issues
We
within
can
a
write a
meeting.
paragraph or a book for
So-
each one of these norms.
Well, if it's not clear, don't
Let's just
have it.
limit the conversation to the objections that Ms. Power has, so please continue.
Well, that was one of them. They can't be resolved in a meeting, so maybe it needs to be reworded to what you want it to mean.
It's not what I wanted.
Other objections that you have, Ms. Powers?
Manage time wisely, that's subjective. What you think is wisely and what you think is wisely and what I think is wisely, because everyone thinks that their points are important. So you might not think that my points are important. I might not think that your points are important. So that's subjective. I don't even know how you would say to someone, Dr. Sears, remember to manage time wisely. It's gonna, I don't know how that's gonna work. Speak from one's own perspective, I don't even know what that means, because we talk for constituencies. So I talk from other people's perspective that talk to me often. To say that I'm not going to talk about someone else, it's ridiculous. Be prepared, well, I've seen lots of committees in Stoughton, recently the building committee, where they said, we're not prepared, so we're going to table this and move on to something else. So to say that we always have to be prepared, we're volunteers, we work, this isn't our full-time job, sometimes you're not prepared. I'm not going to hold Dr. Sears or Mr. Stefano's feet to the fire and say, well, you were supposed to be prepared. You know, sometimes you have a job, you have a family, you have a home, can't always be prepared. Agree to disagree, the whole point is that sometimes you disagree and you hash it out, so that's, speak with one voice, that's redundant, because that's a policy, so no one can do that, that's violating policy. Be outcome driven. Celebrate our wins in district and each other. I mean, celebrating our wins is great, celebrating our wins, I don't know what my wins would be here. And if I want to have fun, I'll go to Toffee's Social Bar. Those are mine.
Okay, so there's a motion that's been made and seconded on the floor. Are we ready for a roll call vote?
Aye.
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 What's the motion?
The motion is to accept the final school committee norms as written.
No.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 4-0. 4-1, thank you. Can't subtract. There we go. Moving on to the superintendent reports and recommendations.
Yeah, so looking at, just trying to go in order, I will just send it over to Heidi, who will do our end of year FY '25, so I'll have Heidi come up. This will be brief. You do have a written document. Big picture of all of this is be mindful that we had funds coming in from all different types of situations, shelter funds, ESSER funds, the extra SOA funds, federal funds that we utilized as part of FY '25. So I'll let Ms. Perkins provide some of those details for you.
So, several items in your packet. I'll start off with the fourth quarter and final for FY '25. Obviously, I won't read this word for word, but essentially, the town is still in the process of closing their books as I wrote this. However, we had completed all of our entries, and just for the general knowledge, we look through every single fund, not just the operating budget at the end of the year, and determine what's the best strategy and budget for the school district. Sometimes we have grants that, showing a little bit of a deficit. Sometimes there's a little bit of money and it's expiring, so we move monies around to make those all as they should be. So we go through that process, and in the end, we are turning back $349.52 to the town from unused funds on an unemployment purchase order. And we did not obviously have excess funds to prepay tuition. We did that a couple years ago. We didn't do it, last year. There's just not excess funds to be had. As a reminder, our out-of-district tuitions went up from from what we had budgeted last year, and they are already this year as well, going above budget. So we came out pretty close to the wire and used the funds in the best way. Last year, as you know, we did have a budget freeze. However, in the end, really the freeze was that staff requested to Dr. Baeta if they had, after that point of the freeze, if they had something, and the vast majority of that was approved on a one-by-one basis, rather than just the normal way if we weren't concerned about not having enough funds at the end. Being that close, we had very high concerns about making sure we didn't end in a deficit, which we can't do. So we were just able to keep, count of that. So we, as we mentioned, over the last 2 years with the shelters came what we call the 104 a day. It's 104 and change, but it's referred to as the 104 a day reimbursement for each of those students that were in our district for the days that they attended. And so we used the shelter funds to offset some of what would have been an additional shortage. And we had some monies that we could carry over, because that is, we can carry over the shelter funds, but it's on a reimbursement basis. So if you recall, the first year we had the shelters, we had to front all of the money with really almost no reimbursement, and that really hurt us unexpectedly. And so now we had our last payment this summer for the end of last year. The payments are done. There's not going to be any additional money. And as another reminder, ESSER also ended last fall. So 2 significant sources of revenue that are at their end. So what we did, aside from using some of that, we also had to use a little bit of our circuit breaker. I've mentioned several times in the past that the district had where we would use last year's revenue to pay current year as an offset. We did dip into that a little bit because we had to. Otherwise, we would have closed in a deficit, or we would have had to have some things be denied, or, some staff maybe cut, or, or whatever, or hours reduced, or something would have happened. And we were so close to the end that it made sense to just use a little bit of that circuit breaker. And we have the authority and the means to do that without needing anything from the state or whatever. So, and a lot of districts use it in the year they get it. So that's essentially how we closed out the books. And I don't know if you want me to keep going or see if there's a question with each fiscal period. How would you prefer?
All right, looks like there's a question. Ms. Powers?
All right. The ESSER funds you said are ending, but is that being rolled into Chapter 70? So it's not necessarily ending, it's ending as its own entity, but I understand that it's being rolled, so is that money really gone?
It's really gone. So it didn't roll into anything. It's really, that was COVID funding, essentially, and the towns had it too, and CARES grants, et cetera. So across the entire country, we all had certain amounts. It was nice to have. A lot of districts were able to do a lot of things, temporary staff, some additional supports for kids, purchase some curriculum, but it ended last September, over a year ago. As you might recall, we were able to carry over a piece of that to be spent. We had to put in for late liquidation, it was called, for only fresh air intake projects, capital projects, which is, we used the last of it towards the Gibbons School air conditioning with another grant that Mr. Ford wrote, the IVAC grant, and we put those together, and that's how we were able to install the air conditioning at Gibbons, which is just finishing up without any cost to local taxpayers. That was strictly through federal and state funds. So, but if we didn't, we would not have been able to use the funds. They were very narrow. It had to be fresh air.
Okay.
Like COVID related, essentially. Yeah.
And the shelter funding, that was supposed to be used for shelter students. So did we use it for something else?
Actually, there
Or
was
did
no
we use some of our funding for the shelter students and then now we're kind of backfilling?
both.
Okay.
So in the first year of the shelter, we used our operating budget, and it created a real tight situation, and anybody that had shelters went through that, and there was no other option. We had costs associated from additional staff, additional materials, buses, and we got a partial, the first payment, I believe it was in April of that year, and then the second payment, the larger one, was over the summer. So that was the year of pain, I'll just call it. That was, financially, that was an unanticipated cost. Now, last year was the last year of the shelters, so likewise, we got our last payment this past summer. But there is no restriction on having to use it for shelter-related costs. When I'm checking things with Desi, I always get it in writing, so I had to, cover. And so the email was that we would like it to be towards the shelter funds, and essentially it was during the times the shelter's here. And now the last payment came over the summer, the shelters are closed. And we did budget, if you recall, the 527,000 and change, I budgeted as an offset to balance the budget for this year when we voted the budget. I have a little bit more than that. However, we are also over on several other items already this year, unanticipated, special ed being one of them. So it's good that we have it, but there will not be anything left to carry over to next year.
Right.
So knowing that it's going to be a big drop off, because budgeting 527 this year means we're 527 to the negative before we even start the budget, $500,000, because we will not have the shelter.
527,000 in the negative.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to, beginning of what we would have to try and make up, because that funding is gone.
Because the
So-
shelter funding is gone, or because shelter and ESSER are gone?
We didn't use ESSER really to support the operating budget. That, like I said, that was for additional interventionists or different, I can't, it happened before I was here. There was ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3.
Yeah.
So, some districts put in staff and some districts did supports that were not hiring full-time staff so that they would not have to then let them go at the end of it. So depending on how a district planned, we did not have, I don't know in the beginning grants, we did not have, when I came on board in ESSER 3, I did not see regular positions that, like, say, counselors or things like that in there. So we did not end up having to, cut positions like that when the ESSER ended, which was, in my own opinion, very wise planning on the district. So while there were a lot of extras and a lot of extra supports and some things that were purchased, some curriculum things and whatever, those were very wise, and it went directly to the good of the students, but it did not create a problem with having to cut staff.
So I think my question now would be, if we no longer have shelter students, what would we need shelter funds for?
Well, again, we can use them towards what we want, and I'll talk about that when I get onto this year's
No, I
budget.
mean, so I understand, like, we need to backfill a little bit because we use some of our operating budget, but now that the shelters are closed and we're not getting shelter funds, then we shouldn't be necessarily hurting by it. Is that making sense?
When I get onto the last
Okay.
report, I'll try to tie that together.
All right, thank you.
So that's essentially, where we were on that. Like I said, just wrapping it up, we had a freeze, but it wasn't really painful. We were able to manage by using some of the shelter and some of the current year circuit breaker. So that left us in a fairly decent spot to close in the plus without really, I don't think people really missed a step last year. So, they might beg to differ. I'm not, on that ground floor, but we really didn't hear any negative feedback about freezes or anything because we tried to balance things out and give everybody everything they needed, and they got it. So just wanted to put that out there. Now, I'm going to go in between, because it's a year-end report, to the revolving funds and the vote to reauthorize the student activities, which we put before you every year at this time. So there is an attachment, just so I can keep the end of the year as the end of the year, which has the June 30th balances of the student activity funds. As a reminder, for anybody that's new, these funds do not belong to the town and do not belong to the school district and do not come under the authority of the administration or school committee. These are legally belong to the students. They raised the funds, and they vote with their advisors on how to use it. So there's an advisor, to help guide them, mostly at the high school, but they essentially discuss what to use their funds for, and there's very little that they cannot do under the law. They can do, if they say, I want to have a cookout on the last day of school, and we've said, yep, it's safe, then yes, they can use the funds to do something like that. So I just want to clarify, because that question came up, I think, last year or the year before. The class officers, I made a note on, I've said it for the last couple of years. Technically, we could close out these funds and take them into the district as an overall student activity balance. It's my personal thought, and I've done this everywhere else I've been, to keep trying to get in touch with the class officers. We were able to chase down by Mr. Pickett putting it on the Facebook page. A couple people got in touch with us. If anybody knows the class officers of any of these classes, and if the school committee is in agreement, I would really like to keep these on the books and keep trying to get these kids. This is typically what most of us would have graduated years ago and we would have used towards our class reunion. But they can do what they want. They are allowed to give it to charity. They are allowed to have their reunion. They are allowed to give a gift to the school, like whatever they want to do. And every place they do some mix. And actually, the class, Julie, which class was it, 23? I can't remember which class it was. A couple of months ago that we did get in touch with and have them set up their bank account and give them the funds. And they decided on their own to donate, I believe it was $4,000 for the principal to use for kids who might be financially unable to participate in some of the extras, prom or whatever else. So under the discretion of the principal. So that was a wonderful thing that class did. Actually, I have just got goosebumps. I'm like even saying that. But that's up to each class. And they all have varying amounts. So my request is that if the school committee is, in agreement to allow us to really continue trying to get the funds to the kids. Also on this, you'll see a note about the Science Olympiad. We had a recent request that, because it's really being essentially a robotics club, is to change the name to Robotics Club. And again, it's not required to have these revoted every year, but it's a good thing to do. It's a best practice. You really only are required to vote them when they're first set up, and they stay that way until the school committee votes to absolve them, but, so just so you know. And, the kids work hard, and it funds a lot of their activities through their own hard work. So kudos to them for, raising the funds for what they need. So I don't know if there's any questions on these, and then if, I'll go to the revolving funds, and then if we can wait, and then I'll get the questions, okay, if that's okay? So the revolving funds, we do not have a lot of revolving funds here in Stoughton, and the 630 balances there, again, I made some notes. A couple of these balances have since been spent. The insurance recovery, a truck hit our loading dock, so we put in a claim to the insurance company. We got the check for $3,500. We paid to have the loading dock fixed. It's already gone. The lost books, I've been in touch with Principal Miller that they could use that this year to, I don't like to see funds stagnate, so they're just things that were sitting here and they have a need. Budgets are tight. So summer school, I'll bring it up. When I ran the balance sheets, the budget report was off exactly $20,000 from the balance sheet. And I looked back, and there was a specious entry made in 2017 to temporarily increase the budget $20,000 with no basis, in my opinion, for doing that. And so I had the town reduce it down when I proved out that the balance sheet. So it's been overstated, and your report's probably for about the last 8 years. It is now where it should be. It's correct. Facility rental, again, we pay 1.5 salaries out of that. It takes most of what we take in rentals. Again, a lot of it is when we charge for the time and a half of the custodians, and then we pay them in that paycheck. So there's only the space itself. Transportation, most of that is made up of the fees, the bus fees that came back this year that were paid before June 30th. So that is an offset budgeted to be used towards the buses this year. Pre-K tuition, I won't go into the whole thing, but that's listed there. As a reminder, we did add a couple of classrooms. Last year was a 2 or 3, Joe, I don't remember, and the 2, okay. So of course, we have teachers in there, and this is a mandated program for special ed students of that age group in the preschool phase. So we have to have the program in the budget, and we are allowed to charge for the non-special ed children who choose to come to the preschool, and we are allowed to charge tuition for that. So that's where this money comes from, but without it, all of the staff essentially are in the budget in any case, whether we had this revenue or not. And this is common. I haven't been to a district that doesn't have this. And we are also required to try to have a balance of the children, I think they're called model students now, for the children to learn from each other. So that's what the program essentially is, although, not going into it more, you know what it is. And evening school, it had a loss, I think, due to COVID and whatnot, so it had been in the black a couple of years ago. It started running into the red. It landed in the red last year, and so we are now starting out with a fresh, clean zero, but went over the budget for this year, and we should have plenty to pay the expenses of, and probably have a small balance at the end of the year from that. That's pretty much it. And the school lunch, I just said to be announced in November. Again, that's years ago. I mean, I just say things out. I mean, it is what it is. In 2015, when the town converted to Munis, there's a setting that you set that whenever revenue comes in, it increases the budget. It was never set up on the school lunch account, so whether it was kids paying or we get state revenue every month and we get federal revenue every month, everyone gets that towards the lunch program. So while the money was coming in, which doesn't show up in a budget report, shows up on a balance sheet, it was never showing the true money in the school lunch account since 2015. So running the balance sheet, I waited till 6:30 to all the stuff that was crossing years to be done. And I sent it up to the town with my backup, asking them to make a pretty significant entry to our budget. The cash is in the bank, that's the Bible, it's like your bank statement. So when I run the balance sheet, I know that cash is in the bank. They have to reconcile it every month and send it to DOR, et cetera. So I knew what the cash was. So now I'm working with a consultant from Crabtree, who actually lays out most of the school kitchens everywhere and is actually, I didn't know when I called them, but I've worked with them before, is designing the one in the new elementary school, as it turns out anyway. I've met with all the kitchen managers, and so I'm looking at some equipment that needs to be replaced for sure. So once I finish this project, I will have a little bit more information, but now that the funds are showing in the budget, we can actually get some much-needed equipment and put in a walk-in over at the middle school. So that's that. Sorry, it's a little long-winded, but there was stuff there that was just unusual this year to get things squared away. So do you want me to move on? Okay.
I believe there was a question. Jillian, you had a question?
I just had a quick question. When it comes to the, the classes and their funds, what happens if we can't get in touch? Like, is there like a time period that this?
There is. It's actually, there didn't used to be, but people had funds on the books from, class of 1942, right? So, and some might still. And so a number of years ago, the Department of Education, the Accountant and Auditors Association, and MASBA, which is the school business managers, came up with like some sort of guidelines, on student activity funds. It's not law, but so they suggest, and the financial auditors of the town, when they come and when I do the student activities audit, will, question, but they don't have authority to say it must be done, because there is no law. So yes, they recommend that about 6 months or so after the kids graduate, the funds be out. However, it appears, I don't want to say anything about anything that was said or not said or whatever, it appears, because of all of these classes not taking out their funds, that the class officers probably were not made aware. So they wouldn't have taken that action on their own. And a lot of the time, the advisor's not aware because they're not seeing that, right? So I've been trying to, talk with Principal Miller about, we need to be letting the kids know as they graduate. I don't like to close it at 6 months. I like it to go 12 months because I have seen where all of a sudden these surprise bills show up in September, or October from their prom or something that, and then I'm like, oh, we have to pay this $10,000 bill, and they already got the check for all their money to be out. So I usually wait a year. That's what I would like to get to. But I do feel that my guess is that the public would like to see it go to the kids. They fundraised for their things, and that it's the right thing to do. Because eventually, if it came back that all of this was taken in, I'm just going to say, having been other places, it's a bad look. It's a bad look for the administration and everybody involved that, money was taken away from the kids. So, but it's hard because they go after college and some of them are married now. Some of the ones we got in touch with are, they're happily married with a family now. And so I don't know where they are. So we're going to continue working on that, and I'll ask Mr. Pickett to put it out again, blast it out. We did get some response the last time, and we're able to clean up 2 of the classes.
Oh, that's good.
So that's the goal. Anything else on that part?
Yes,
or-
please. The principal's account, is that all the principals together?
No, that is made up of actually picture money, when the kids get the picture packets. There's like a gift check, so to speak, from the different photography places. Everybody has them. So the high school is getting from the high school picture packets. The middle school gets from the middle school. That's usually at the discretion of the principal. for, things that come up, whether, say there's not enough funds, say they wanted to have an anti-bullying speaker in, and it was, not something in their budget, or say they wanted to run some function for the kids or whatever it was. Because again, it's student activities, so in the vein of student activities. So it's really usually at the discretion of the principal to use either for little one-offs or to plan some events for the kids. And so with some of the field trips, it could be used for something like that, because that is like a student activity
So
without
it's, I'm sorry,
charging fees.
I hate to interrupt you, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that my question was clear. Is this all the schools together?
No.
And then, no, this is just the high school?
You'll see,
15,573?
yes, it's been accumulating for a while, so I've been in touch with the principals. Well, Ms. Crowley is out right now, but
This is OMS.
to say, yeah, there's an OMS down below, $1,300 and change. And then up above, because this report is under high school and then middle school, that's the only schools that there are student activities. And so up above, you'll see that there's a high school account. And so we've been in touch this year with the principals from both schools, saying this is how much is in there. So if you wanted to waive some fees for something or whatever else.
This is OMS and the high school?
Yes.
Not elementary schools?
Correct.
Okay, so they collaborate together and they say, these are what we want? Or they just go
Well,
through
the
you
high
or
school
through
would
the
do theirs,
superintendent?
and then the middle school would make their own choice. They don't really have that much money, but they don't run very many student
Yeah.
activity clubs or anything.
Yeah,
so-
I mean, it's not like I have an aversion to it or something. I was just curious as to
Yeah.
how it worked. And last year, if we go on to athletics where it says baseball, last year, baseball was the highest one. There was like $10,000 in there. And I see now it's down to 38. Do we have an accounting as to what $6,000 went to for the baseball team? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and they make their own decisions, sweat gear, sweatsuits, whatever they decide to do. But what I can say is that,
There's no oversight to that? Is there oversight to that?
again, it's a student activity, so the administration, there is no adult that can tell them what to do with their money. The advisor of the club can advise, like, what's legal, or, if they say, we want to get this, and they say, well, that logo shouldn't be on there. That's not appropriate, right, for a school, or something like that. So they advise, but the kids purchase, jackets, they can get hockey bags, or whatever it is they want. As far as what the difference is, some of this could be timing, that they did some fundraising late in the year, and the monies came in July, because that can happen on any of these. And we do not keep these in Munis. They've never been in the accounting system. So their manual checkbooks, that is something that I'm making a change and getting that into Munis, so that I could run a report and I'd actually be able to see, rather than going through stacks of papers. Right now, it's very paper-centric on these particular accounts.
Ms. Miller? Yes. The microphone.
I just want to clarify.
Yes.
There is some oversight with the student activities account. In order for students to actually access the funds, they have to provide a receipt and an invoice with a voucher check that I sign, a voucher card, which I sign off on. That goes over to the student activities account, and then the check is cut. So there is insight. There is oversight in the sense that they're not just able to withdraw money without any paperwork. I just want to be
Okay,
clear on that.
all right, that was my question, because we're not sure where this money is going, and you said that it's initiated by the students, or it's initiated by the coaches, for at least the athletics, I'm sure for the club advisor for clubs.
The coaches are actually not supposed to be involved in it, so the advisor, well, let me put it this way.
Well, who would be the advisor for athletics?
Often, a coach will be asked, what does the team need, in a lot of different special funds? And they might say, we need a new batting cage, we need something. What we can't do is say that the student activities has to pay for that if it's something that we normally would provide, say uniforms, right? We would say, no, we're supposed to provide that in the operating budget. The extras is what, like I said, sweatpants, jackets with their name on them, different things. If they want a piece of equipment that we don't normally purchase, then they can spend it on that. So they work with their advisor, who may be their coach and may not be. It could be one of the teachers. All the advisors are Unit A teachers, essentially, for the most part. And they would work with them and say, we would like to do X, Y, Z. And if the advisor doesn't have some reason to say no, like that's not legal, that's in bad taste, that's not okay, whatever, it's against the school policy, whatever it may be, then essentially it's the kids making that decision. They're high school. And the point of it is, under the Mass General Law of student activities, is for kids to learn how to manage money, go out and fundraise, understand how much it costs for things, and make financial decisions by having those discussions and having a vote of how to spend their funds. And that is right in the law. So that's really what student activities are meant for.
Yes.
Can I just add to this, because Ms. Powers, you and I both have had some discussions about this. There is no bigger headache than not having a boosters club. I'll just leave it right there. There's no bigger headache in athletics than not having one boosters club. They run their own ship. They make their own decisions. Our athletic director can provide advice, and that's it. This always leads to problems in every district that I've worked in.
Well, the oversight is probably just the biggest question.
We can go beyond oversight. We can go to the idea that the money that is raised at that time should be used for the student athletes at that time, and not just sit there decade after decade.
Saying that the
Or-
previous class paid
Right,
for
so
the current classes.
So my child is
stuff.
out there fundraising, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It should be for a cause.
I've heard that,
I am
yeah.
out there fundraising because we're trying to get new uniforms, and those uniforms are then purchased for those student athletes.
Yeah.
It's typically not uniforms, by the way. It's usually.
No, it can't be.
It's usually the other stuff, but.
Yeah, no, we
but-
provide uniforms, but I understand what you're saying.
But not every district does. I've been in districts where literally they're fundraising for their new uniforms.
Sure.
So.
I'm just wondering the oversight, because these are big numbers. I mean, 9,000, 7,000, 8,000. I know, like I said, there was 10,000, now there's
Right, and these
almost
are all
4,000, so.
These
Just
are
wonder
all-
how these numbers are, does Heidi get an accounting that says this is what they were used for?
So I sign off on the warrants after all the process that Principal Miller mentioned. When it all is said and done, before the checks go out the door, it comes up to me. I check all the math, because it's a tedious handwritten thing. And I'm just going to say that I've already asked the town, I've set up 2 funds, one for high school, one for middle school, and funds meaning the fund code in Munis. I will then, by the end of this year, all the student activities, the checkbooks will be gone. And that's been my plan since I got here. It's very unusual for a school to have checkbooks still, which is not at their own disposal. It goes through a whole process with several signatures and all of that. And it comes over to Leanne here, and, she prepares them, and she prepares the warrant, and all the backup is there, and the town sees it and checks it all and questions anything that they want. So it is all a lot of oversight. However, what it doesn't do is give me the ability to, without asking Leanne, what's the balance in something, because it's on spreadsheets, right? So, and it doesn't go through the accounts payable process so that it hits immediately. So if the funds came in today, if they paid online, let's just say for some event, and we put it in Munis today, I would be able to see that money has been raised and it's in their account. The way it is now, it's just tedious and going to the bank, just a lot of things. So, again, there's not that many districts that still have checkbooks, and it will all be in Munis soon, so.
Okay, I'm just happy that there's at least some oversight, and someone's looking to see that this money is going properly, funneling properly. Thank you.
Okay, so, moving on. So how are we doing on first quarter this time?
Do
And
we
again-
need to vote to reauthorize the revolving?
Oh, yes, if you want to do that now, that'd be great, these student activity accounts.
Yep.
And if you would be so inclined to vote to change the name on the Science Olympiad to the Robotics Club at their request, which
Okay,
Principal Miller
so
supports.
can we take that in 2 motions?
Probably does, yes.
So I need a motion to reauthorize the revolving accounts and student activity fund accounts. That was made by Armando. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Jen. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. I need a motion to rename the Science Olympiad Student Activity Account as the Robotics Club.
So moved.
All right, that was made by Jen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jillian. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries 5-0. Please continue.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so, the first quarter, obviously, we start encumbering everything, and there's really not a lot to report. It's 2 months of the summer and September, so just saying that every year, the first quarter is, just still underway, getting things in. But there's a couple of highlights that you read, and I just want to point out. Aside from the fact that our special ed placements rose last year after the budget was done, as Dr. Bader said, we have to do it so early here in December that there's a long stretch of time that things happen in the prior year that puts us in a position this year of $500,000 of sped costs that we know of that were not budgeted. And probably it has gone up since then too. So it is what it is, and that's just been mentioned there for your knowledge. This year, we have always been 1 year behind using our special ed, the largest grant, our special ed grant, and 1 year behind using Circuit Breaker. We will be using 2 years of at least one of those funds and probably dipping into some of the other fund. It's important to note that because those buffers will not exist after that. It's almost impossible to ever get them back. So while you've had those for budget buffers before, they likely will not be there after this year, or very little of it will probably be there next year. There will not be. And the circuit breaker is a little over $2 million. The sped for the transportation is a little over $1 million. So maybe we'll have $1 million out of that 3 to carry over. It's too early to tell with other pressures. And so as you read on, we have other things that have come up, right? And we've, like I said, there's some shelter funds. So we added 3 kindergarten classrooms and a 4th grade classroom over the summer that were not budgeted. That was due to enrollment. It was a lot of expenses that go with us, that aside from the salaries. And we also had some positions that really were not budgeted for this year, and we're keeping them this year with the shelter funding. And so those are things that you knew about last year, which was the kindergarten aides and some other positions. So while they're here this year, and we knew that, and we budgeted an offset of shelter funds, that's what the shelter funds are doing, which was mentioned last year. So just knowing that there are some pressures in our overall enrollment within our subpopulations within, including ELs and special ed, there's some pressures that are bubbling up this year. So we renewed a 6-year renewal of our math curriculum over the summer. That was approximately $258,000. That's a 6-year license, so now we won't have that for the next few years. But that $250,000 also came out of when we were using these shelter funds and things, which we're allowed to do. So just so you'll know why, there's some significant issues coming up. So the majority of the salaries have been encumbered. Like I say, every year there's some that can't be. But the main point here is that, I guess, as you look towards starting to build next year's budget, is that those buffers will not be there, and there are positions being funded out of one-time funds this year. Mm-hmm. So next year, you would have to bring them all into the budget, which is significant, including the special ed costs. And I would say, off the top of my head, a guess would be $1.5 million. And we also have not settled our union contracts and everything else yet, so there's no way of knowing this early. And unfortunately, we never know by December when our budget is due. So there could be additional SOA money. We don't know, as Dr. Bayer said at the beginning. So I just wanted to put that out there because we're going into a lot of discussions, and I have to be open and honest and realistic about what has gone on and what we no longer have for buffers. And so we either have to bring those into the operating budget or whatever other options are discussed. Not those specifically, but just in the overall. So,
I appreciate your candor.
yeah, I just, it's
Yeah, no,
tough to say it, but I know I have to say it.
it's helpful to
Bless
have
you.
a realistic picture. Any questions?
Just a quick notation, if I may, to the committee, if the committee doesn't have any questions. One of the things I'm currently working on that you'll get for the first time with no details because I cannot pinpoint students, but I really am looking at our out-of-district costs as a district. And so you'll hear things like, you won't hear the name of a school because that could actually pinpoint a student, and you might know that family, and I don't want to do that because that's, to me, is unethical. But I might just say school A, school B, no initials. So in other words, it just goes all the way through Z, and it has tuition costs, transportation costs, how many days they go to school, because they may be 365, they may be 195, they may be 220, and all that stuff, because I think the committee, A, has never really done that in the past, number one, and number two, it also shows what we're up against, which, to the point of the day-to-day operations. Today, that line item could be down 600,000. At the end of the month, it could be up 100,000. Why? Because the constant churn that happens with kids in our district, which is significantly higher than some of the districts I've worked in the past, but also because we may have a student that all of a sudden now is going into an out-of-district placement for the rest of the year. So think about how that works. And then, this is the reason why many of us, and I'll stop here, this is the reason why we're really pushing the state. I'm attending 3 statewide meetings to just let the Healy administration know from school districts. Almost every single one of us is in literally the same road this year. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And don't forget, it's the last year of the SOA funding. So not only do we need a resolve for FY '27, bless you, we need a resolve for the years after. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you see any blue skies in the future,
I
or
do.
is this doom?
I do. I don't see doom, and I don't see doom because it's October 14th. You're always going to hear that from me, right? I don't make announcements about, we're going to unemploy 50 people and all this other stuff, because I think our work here, the 5 of you with me and the team, is to figure it out to the best that we can. That's our job, right? And once we have the real numbers, that's in January. That's when the real numbers come out. That's when I start to say, okay, it's time to sit down and really talk to the principals, in this case, in the transition to Ms. Miller, just really figure out where do we take our hits and where do we stay strong and say, no, we're not going to go in that direction. And it does put some things against each other at times, but other districts have already been going through it the last 2 fiscal years, specifically districts next to us. The other part, and the reason why I do see some shady blue, if you will, is there has to be a discussion on the millionaire's tax. There is very little discussion taking place and being listened to from the very people who pulled the lever for that tax, the voters, that it goes to transportation and K through 16 education. And there's a lot of money sitting there, plus the stabilization account. So is it a rainy day yet? That'll be the question. Does the governor's office see it as it's raining and we need to help public education? They're always going to say they've helped. It's a fact. Every single year, our numbers have gone up. But we are, in my 3 years here, entering the 4th year of not having a level services budget. In other words, having the bottom number equal just to keep what you have, never mind all those things above and beyond. That's not a knock on anybody. That's just the reality. We are a non-level services department, and now we're getting to the point where, with all of those other funds going away, difficult decisions might have to be made. And I think the town is ready to have that discussion, by the way. And I'm not talking about any crazy stuff like Proposition 2.5 overrides, any of that. Let's get that out of the way. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about prioritizing public education. Thank you. Yep.
So if you thought that we were going to have budget cuts, are we talking about cuts to student services?
Student services is typically last on the list.
So what would be first?
Fees.
Theoretically.
Fees, administration, support staff, all of that would be on the table.
Fees, admin, and support staff.
Yep.
Fees, we already have the busing fees. We've already seen that that's created some issues, particularly with Young's Way people. They're having a hard time. I know a lot of people are, but I don't think we have, the only other thing would be athletic fees, right?
There's other things you can consider, but typically you have 2 fees. You have a transportation fee, you have an athletic fee. That's typical, or you have an activity fee as well.
Right, the activity fees. So we're talking about, first we'd have to increase activity fees, and then administration, and then support, and then student services.
And all of it's student services, if you really think about it. Right, there is a direct connection.
Direct student services. Thank you.
Going on?
Yep.
Real quickly, I just provided the school committee with some updates. The Healy District Administration's release of the Division of the Massachusetts High School Graduate, which also goes in line with the items that Ms. Miller and her team presented to you earlier this year as part of the triennial plan. So just making a connection that this is, we're a little ahead, and this is the way the state's going, especially because I was at a meeting on Friday with the MCAS test not being a graduation requirement for passing. The state is really looking at other things to literally make academics and student outcomes a priority. The MCAS results, we're going to have more to say on our local scores. The MCAS results is the straight press release is all I gave you. Let's just say things such as, this is what I heard Friday, things such as more blanks on tests, up significantly. In other words, students not taking the test seriously. Remember that accountability at the federal level back to us still matters on those scores. So a school system could still be labeled underperforming and all of that stuff, or high performing. The next part of all of this is with the MCAS results being flat. There were a few districts, schools that saw increases to what is pre-pandemic scores. And so for those school districts, they were noted there were 63 different school buildings. They were schools of recognition. You had a school of recognition last year, Stoughton High School. So we did see, and we'll be presenting to you some of our flat scores and how that looks. But this is, again, I'm providing you factual information, no reading in between the lines for me. And then the guidance on affirming commitment to equal access to education. This has become a major issue because of everything that's going on federally. And so the Healy administration and the Attorney General's office in Massachusetts have been they've been providing us, it's almost every week we're getting an email communication about expectations and so on and so forth. So again, that's a direct for you. The Town of Stoughton Energy Efficiency and Strategic Electrification Plan, I provided that to you. This is a plan that's put together for the entire town, including the schools. This is just basically the gist. Right now, we are in grant phase, as you know, for the Wilkins, and we are now about to enter into grant phase for the Hanson. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get it, so one, we know the money is coming, the other one, we're still going through that process. But within the next 24 months to 36 months, every single one of your schools, excluding the two that are going offline, and excluding O'Donnell Middle School, which, by the way, would be the next one on the list for us for this type of an investment. And this is all state grants. So this is state grants. This is not federally. This has been voted by the legislature. That's how they work. And then the last item I believe I had for you was or two items. One is I provided you the Operational Services Division, Mark Fine's estimated rate of inflation for fiscal year '27, which is noted on the back page as 3.04%. This is math. This is how they work. I always think it's important for the school committee to get it. You've gotten this in the past for me. And again, not my numbers, not my information. And I wanted to mention we received, and you earlier today received a response. We received through Dr. Sears a MCAS and early literacy curriculum letter that came from Dr. Sears to me to how do I respond to this. I then took all of the questions that were asked of the person, and you were CC'd in all those responses today. So you have those in your email.
We didn't get the email, though. We didn't get the questions. I got all the responses.
No, the questions are in bold, taken exactly. The questions are in bold
Oh, I
as
see.
provided,
Okay.
and then we gave the answers underneath.
Okay,
So
all
it was
right.
it's literally a cut and paste.
It was also in your packet.
Would have liked to have seen the original email that was sent to Dr. Sears.
I'm happy to send that to you, but
Yeah, that'd be great.
there's been no amendments to that.
Thank you.
I want to go on record, though, for a couple of things in responding to the parent, which I appreciated the parent asking the questions. We have to remember that MCAS and literacy right now have a lot of stuff that's taking place, and we are working to try to address some of those issues as well. So, I'm sorry, I'm just writing my homework. sorry. And I believe that that addresses all of the issues before the superintendent report.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, a couple of steps back, and this is me again asking you to look into the crystal ball. Any idea or any organization try to estimate when the academic scores would exceed or at least meet pre-COVID?
Yeah, great question.
I had that same question.
So at the Urban Superintendent's Network meeting on Friday, we got a lot of detailed information, and I'm happy to provide that information to the committee. That just talks about where is MCAS right now, all of these changes to the competency determination. The projection is that the graduation requirements and of eventual CD is probably years away. And that's based on also the timetable of the governor's commission studying graduation requirements and all of that stuff, which will go out to public comment and probably not be discussed until June, is what we're hearing. So if I was to say how many of us are going to get back to, quote, pre-pandemic, I think the question that I have is, what's the assessment that we're using? That's my next question. We've just told every single student in the Commonwealth, every single educator, every single parent, mom and dad, that MCAS doesn't matter. That's what we just said. So what's next? Literacy is a problem because of situations and concerns that we all have around what are we using for literacy. You know, so what we're using for the actual literacy is problematic to part of that. But more importantly, I think, is going to be, when is the state going to give us some guidelines on how we're going to actually move on this whole state assessment thing? I have a lot of concerns about that. I won't necessarily miss that work because I've been up against the MCAS thing for a long time. We know that reading in the early grades and the science of reading is something that we have to continue to work on as a district, and we're not the only one. I'm still waiting to see changes that are happening in other districts and asking, what kind of changes are they? Are they positive changes, or are they flat, just because we're using something different? But there's a lot of discussion about, quote, the science of reading, as you both know, so the committee knows. So, general answer, sorry.
Excuse me. Sure. Would there be has there been any ideas for any alternatives to like the MCAS, like?
Yes.
Try to like things for students so they can participate when we actually do it. Because then, like from what I've been hearing, like a lot of people have been not answering questions. They don't take it seriously ever, like especially after them saying it's required as a graduation requirement. Would there be any like fun things that they could do instead of like making it so serious, like when people are like, they don't want to do it anymore?
Great question. Love it. So
awesome.
So if you look to your left, that Principal Miller, that's right there, she is going to be undertaking a lot of that, and I'll tell you why. So let's talk about something that would be like academically strong, provide great feedback for students, really give you the opportunity to look at growing. One word I think of, portfolio. Putting together a portfolio of your work instead of just another a regular quote test.
Yeah.
Those are all big discussions that Stoughton Public Schools and other school systems are going to have over the next few years. What grade are you in?
9.
Okay, so your impact for you is probably a little less. You'll see some things. But students also have to recognize that the MCAS score does count for the school's rating. So you take it seriously, I don't. We just, basically, I just created a sense that it doesn't matter. While you're taking it seriously and saying, well, no, I want my school to, I want to show that, hey, I'm doing pretty well in school and I can take this test and do well on it. How do we find those things to motivate the students, especially, in our schools? It's never really counted for 3rd through 8th grade. It's always counted for 10th grade. But you're right. I'm hoping portfolios, I'm hoping presentations, senior projects, capstones, if you will, where you really take on writing assignment, presentation skills, so that you can show, my daughter is a sophomore in college, and she takes some tests But most of her work that she's doing is presenting and writing. Those are the two focus areas for her because of her major. She's in social work, as an example. And I know that's college, but that's a great question, Gabby. Great question.
Yeah, and if you're going to speak, can you use the microphone? And that's okay. And I just wanted to add that there was a movement in education about 25 years ago called the Coalition for Essential Schools, and they were moving exactly for that. And I had the benefit of working in the first vocational school to use the program, where instead of a test, in order to graduate from high school, you had to select a problem that you were going to solve for. So like people would create a computer virus and then create the coding that would create a patch that would prevent that virus from spreading. So that would be their problem. They'd have an advisor. So they had the project. They had an advisory council. They had to write an English paper documenting their process and the research they did. So there was a writing component. And then they had to present that to a council of advisors that they had selected and put together. And they had to pass all three in order to graduate from high school.
I just wanted to add, so that you know, Gabrielle, it's really, really important that students become involved because there's going to be a lot of local control. In other words, the Stoughton School Committee, through the superintendent's office, through the high school principal, through the principals, is going to have a lot of say on what all of this looks like. Not all of the say, but a lot of the say on what this is going to look like. And I'll defer to Ms. Miller, who's been involved in some of these discussions.
And you had another question.
Yeah, I was gonna say for like, because you said there's like low literacy rates now. You could do something like a reading challenge. Like I already know the library at the high school does it, but like you can make it like implemented into like the school in general. Like you should do it, and like. She's awesome. Thank you. But you could like do something that like would maybe increase the rates where like, oh, you can do this, but it's required for graduation. Like you have to answer these questions about it. And you could just like go on with more like rates for literacy, I think. I'm not sure.
Love
Great
it.
ideas.
Love
Yeah.
it. Perfect. Are you from Stoughton originally?
Yeah.
Like you've been here since kindergarten?
Yeah.
Homegrown. I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much for speaking up.
Of course.
All right. Moving on in our agenda, school committee updates, a building committee update. Jillian, Ms. Miller.
Are we skipping over correspondence?
Yeah, sorry, it's not it was, we have a correspondence, we're not skipping over it. It was in another place in the agenda already.
Okay.
And it was double entered by mistake. So, apologies for that. Yep.
Where is it double entered?
Yeah, it was put at the beginning of, and it's also at the end.
School community, oh, I see.
Yeah, it's the first and the last thing, so, yep.
All right, so it's not its own, it's just under school
Yeah.
committee updates, not its own correspondence communication anymore.
Sorry.
But that's okay. Go ahead.
Yep, so the construction of the new elementary school is progressing well. The construction manager at risk was awarded to WT Rich. They came to our most recent building committee meeting last week. WT Rich specializes in education facilities. They shared a very fun animated video with us outlining each phase of land development on how they're going to go about clearing the land and constructing the school. Right now, the WT Rich team is just looking at the architectural design of the school and then looking at the feasibility of like constructing it. So I know this happens a lot where the architect will make something very beautiful and then when it comes time to ordering the supplies, be like, this doesn't actually work, but we can do it this way instead and keep the main structure of the overall building. So they're working on that right now and also recognizing areas that they want to order sooner rather than later. For instance, steel has a long lead time. The electrical circuits also have very long lead times, up to a year is what they stated.
Really?
So that they need to start putting those packages together for approval and get those to the MSBA so that we can get funds to get those orders in. The recent estimates from WT Rich indicates the project is projected to be below budget, with expectations of at least like 7 figures below budget, which is great, because right now we're looking to get a guaranteed maximum price submission from them. So what that means is that they will put in, this is the maximum price, we cannot go over. So if they were to do something that, at the end of the day, there was an additional cost, that's assumed from them. So the budget for this project cannot go over budget. So that's the building stuff. The really exciting stuff is the building committee is also reviewing color schemes for the school. We got to look at carpet swatches and tiles and all that stuff. I'm immediately volunteered for helping out with that. I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for community engagement, school engagement for the kids. I think it's a great opportunity. And the next thing, too, also is that we also need to start considering is the name of the elementary school. Where, are we going to keep the South School, or are we going to name or honor that? And that's something that, nothing needs to be decided now, but that's in the talks of another thing we can have for community engagement for that as well.
Yes.
You have one question. Are tariffs going to affect any of these
Yes, I had inquired as well, potentially, but it's like, right now, they have like what's assumed costs, and they build that into their projection. So they assume things are going to go up X rate in a year that we're going to need that product. So when they're making the budget, they say it's like, okay, this is today's cost, this is our estimated in a year when we're actually going to need it. Should we order it now, or should we wait and just assume that cost?
And does that include, I know you mentioned at the last update that would be for building supplies and materials, but I just saw that furniture and bath fixtures and things of that nature are now being tariffed. Are they looking to source that within the United States?
That's a great question. I don't know that, because most of the talk has been on steel and
Right.
beams and such, but I can bring that up during the next meeting to kind of inquire about that.
Just curious. Don't want to be in their shoes right now. Any other questions? Karen? Ms. Powers?
So, did the land swap get approved? That land swap is now, so there was,
That goes up to the town meeting on the 27th.
okay. In that land swap, there's that Fano Drive. Is Fano Drive going to be, in the final product, a fully functioning road, or is that going to be like a partial road that's part pavement and part crushed stone and rock?
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's only going to be partially.
Partial.
Yeah. It's only going to go up past the school, and then there's going to be access, like gravel past that.
Gravel.
Yeah. Am I correct in that? That's what I've seen.
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
The intent is that that is not a traditional road, because that's not under the concept of the building committee. What it is it changes, it flips the emergency exit from Haynes, that is no longer taking place, and creates Fano Drive all the way just slightly past the building as a paved road for cars and parking and buses, and then becomes a gated, graveled area only used for the sake of emergencies, just like we
So
were doing
that
it.
Fano Drive goes from, for people who don't know, that Fano Drive goes, if I'm wrong, tell me, Park Street to Sumner.
Correct.
So the part from Park Street, which will be an entrance into the new elementary school, will be paved until the end of the school building, I guess. And then the rest of it will be a gravel through to Sumner Street. Sumner, not Summer, Sumner Street.
Yes.
Want to make sure I enunciate that correctly. All right, and in the wintertime, how is that going to get plowed if it's gravel?
Yeah, typically, secondary access ways are not plowed on a regular basis.
So that won't be an emergency access in the
It-
winter
It could still be an emergency access in the winter.
through 15 inches of snow if perhaps we get it, and it won't get,
DPW, fire, and police will go through that. I've seen it.
okay, so they will plow it.
Yeah.
It will be
It
plowed.
will not be plowed on a regular basis because it's not considered a road. So the plowing that will take place will be, quote, our parking lot, if you will,
Yeah.
our street lot. And then they'll make sure that the access has reasonable way to get in, so on and so forth.
Okay, so not for like
Access-
what you're saying is not for normal travel.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you,
No,
but
no,
just not for normal
no,
travel,
right.
just for emergency vehicles to
It-
get through.
Yeah, and it's typically with emergency exits, it's actually not coming in, it's actually going out. It's the idea that you're taking your students and everybody, and you're trying to find a safer place to get out of there. Or
I want to
another
make sure a
option.
fire truck can get through an
Oh,
emergency access.
I agree with you
I mean,
100%.
certainly I want the kids to get out, but I want to make sure that
Right.
emergency access, if that's it. So do we have a price of how much that road is going to be?
That's like line in the budget. I don't have an exact number for you.
They were working.
Chance you can get that to me.
They were working on getting a number prior to town meeting. I know that for a fact, because they had to
Okay.
go back. So the reason why there's a notation of savings of potentially 7 figures is because the 2 bridges, the one on Park Street and the one on Haynes, no longer have to be built. And those were significant design and implementation that they believe is going to save some money. And then.
They said 2 million.
Yeah, nobody wants to toss out a number, because when you do, then you're held to that number, and if you're off by $1, you're a liar. Or you're misinforming the public,
Sure,
excuse
I
me.
understand.
So they've been very diligent to try to simply say, so the you can't actually call it a land swap, because I guess that's the wrong
Oh,
term.
I thought that's what they were
But-
calling
Well,
it.
that's what we all call it as lay people, but legally, it's not considered that. But basically, through Mark Tisdale's work, town manager's work, they took the lead on that because they were through the select board, the only people who have the authority to actually make a swap. The building committee does not. Fano Drive becomes the original proposal, by the way, the original proposal, but the building committee could not find a way to, quote, make the deal work. And then that's when all of this just happened in the last few months.
Okay, so that road, Fano Drive, that goes from Park Street to Sumner, part of it gravel, is that paid for in the bond that just went from 30-year to 20-year?
Yes.
Or is that, it is paid in the bond?
So the road itself as an access point would be just like the 2 bridges. It would be, once the deal is done, it'd be part of the actual project.
Okay, so that's getting paid for through the
Yes.
now 20-year bond, not,
Correct.
okay, thank you. And I'd love that number as soon as it comes through.
I will probably not be the first person to know it, but if I get it, I'll make sure that I sent it to
First,
you.
we'll share.
We'll make sure we can share it.
Ms. Miller, anything you wanted to add?
Jillian did such a great job. I would just add that the school building committee will be at the South School Pumpkin Patch. We have a table at the South School Pumpkin Patch on Sunday if anybody wants to come out and see us.
Perfect. Excellent, thank you. Next on our agenda is the MASC delegate assignment. Armando Barbosa has graciously agreed to represent the Stoughton School Committee for the 2nd year in a row. They, I don't know why, but continue to have their annual convenings on workdays. They're always Monday through Friday. It's,
Sorry.
I thought 2
Oh,
people
okay.
normally go.
I can't go on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Last year, you and, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
You
You and
did.
Lindsay Kreckler went last year, right?
Correct.
So normally 2 people go.
are you
Do you
volunteering?
want to go?
Are you volunteering, Ms. Powers?
So for me, last year, Mr. Barbosa and Miss Lindsay Kreckler went, and only a few months later, Ms. Kreckler was off the committee, so it seemed like a loss that all of that information that was taken from her, that she received, didn't really get here, or at least was only a few months. So I would like to see someone who's going to be here longer than a few months to actually go. Sure, no, I understood. It was just if I was going to, I would love to see some of our newer members go if they were able. I'm not able, I have to work.
There are 2 things here. There's the mass classes presentation that they give, and then there's you go there and you vote,
Yep.
okay?
That's
So,
both in the retreat at the Cape.
correct.
Yep.
You don't have to do both.
Right.
You can do one. You can just go there and vote and not participate in any of the
I think that's normally our
presentation.
delegate, correct? You did that last year?
I
Is that
did.
you? Yeah, okay,
Yeah, I was voted into doing that.
right.
Yeah, by the school committee. But I've mentioned to Chris, I don't want to go, but I'll go if there's no one else that has to go, because I think the Stoughton School Committee and Stoughton parents and kids and population should be represented. That's the only reason. But if anyone else would like to go in my place, I'd gladly pass it on to you.
I hear you, me too.
Okay,
Got to
so,
work for a living.
so thank you so much for drawing the short straw, and thank you for making sure that Stoughton is represented. So what I need is a motion to designate Armando Barbosa as the Stoughton School Committee's designee to the MASC annual convening on November 14th.
So moved.
All right, that was moved by Jillian. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was made by Jen. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
Do I vote?
Yes.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries 5-0. And the second item that you have there, you've got two items below, sorry. The MASC's Mass 2025 resolution and then report of the resolution committee. So those agenda items focus on the annual delegate meeting that is held every year. The MASC's Resolutions Committee, they select resolutions that they bring to the delegates for a vote. Every year, Stoughton School Committee reviews the list and determines the resolutions that we want to vote on, the ones of interest to us. The resolutions are in your packet. However, sometimes the exact language of the resolution can change, so you are provided with a QR code on the agenda, which links to the online version, so you can look and make sure that you have the most recent or updated language possible. I just ask you to review the resolutions and be prepared to discuss them at the October 28th meeting. Any questions? All right. School committee communications or correspondences, we've received two. First was concern about current early literacy curriculum that's being used in the elementary schools. That concern was passed on to the superintendent because it does not fall within the purview of the school committee. And just as a reminder, the purview of the school committee concerns the budget, it concerns the policies that are enacted within the school system, and then oversight of the performance of the superintendent. We also had a second correspondence sent to us regarding the OMS online scheduling platform for parent-teacher conference sign-up. Once again, yes?
It doesn't look like it's the complete letter. It looks like you cut it, like the letter was cut.
I think what they did was they stripped identifying information
Oh,
from
okay.
it, since it's a public,
Okay, all right.
yeah, just for the, yeah, no, agreed. And
Because it says like see attached. you know,
yeah, and I'll
Okay.
I'll get to that in just a second. Thank you
Okay.
for raising that. So once again, this did not fall within the purview of the school committee, so it was passed along to the superintendent to address directly. And one of the things that we had discussed, I believe at our last meeting, was that if it is something that does fall within the purview of the school committee, that we would then include that in our packet. Otherwise, the email is forwarded to the superintendent to address, and I merely inform you that we received that communications. So that's the inclusion of that email in the packet was an oversight. So that should not be happening going forward. Any questions about the correspondences? Thank you again for raising that. Finally, I would like to remind folks of some upcoming events. As plugged many times tonight, the South Elementary School Pumpkin Patch Festival is this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. The Stoughton High School will be hosting U.S. Bands Massachusetts Marching Band State Championships on November the 1st. Looking for volunteers and attendees, of course. The Veterans Day celebration will be happening at the O'Donnell Middle School on November the 8th, is that correct? 6th, thank you for that, 6th. I didn't put the date down. And then the Stoughton Rec Department is hosting a pumpkin smash on November the 8th. So when you're done with your Halloween pumpkins, you can go smash it and be green at 15 Pleasant Street from 9 to 12. So, moving on to financial updates, warrants, Armando.
Yes, submitted with this package are warrants that were reviewed and approved, and they're being submitted for the records.
All right, thank you so much. New business and voting items, South Elementary School presentation we have already had. So discussion, the Stoughton Youth Lacrosse program has requested a waiver for turf field use for the 2025-2026 season. Dr. Baeta, did you have any additional information you wanted to pass on?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the committee, this is becoming kind of an ongoing support of our athletic programs and our community. So we're asking that the committee continue to support it through the waiver process.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do. Do you know what's going on with Mark's Field that they used to use? Are they just not using it, or is it too expensive?
I don't have an answer for that.
I do have like some feedback from that. My daughter's very short stint on the Stoughton Lacrosse, wonderful program. The coaches there are great. It's a young program and they do a wonderful job. That field is full of divots. It needs to be redone entirely. It's really bad. So I think kind of similar to how the Stoughton Youth Soccer has rain issues, they have divot issues, which makes it very difficult to play lacrosse with a ball that goes in really odd directions if you hit a divot.
All right, thanks.
With that, can I have a motion to waive the turf field fee for the Stoughton Youth Lacrosse program?
So moved.
That was made by Armando. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was made by Jillian. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries 5-0. And then next up for discussion are the two policies, IKFE and IHBB, and I'll turn it over to our policy committee.
Well, I think Jonathan helped me with this, but we went in, Karen, with your suggestion there to write out the words, and I think that you see that they have English as a second language, English,
Some
the
of them I
acronym.
know. I didn't see the FAPE
So-
and IDEA
So,
under A. Am I just missing it?
competency, so CD, we wrote that out. Did we miss one?
Thank you, by the way, for doing that.
That's all right, if we missed one.
So, yeah, the
where-
second page,
Which one did we miss?
where it says FAPE.
Faith?
And the IDEA.
Okay.
you know?
Yep, so we
Yeah,
don't have to
yep, yep.
fix.
And then
okay.
I didn't know what this was. Maybe we could write that out, too.
Okay,
Probably just an internal coding system, but,
okay,
yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that, I think that would help out
okay, yep, we
families
can
to
have
read
that.
this well. Thank you.
And can you just, for clarification, you pointed out something but did not name it. Can you name the?
The course certificate, under course certification, sorry, we'll turn this back on, SCS, she would like us to write that one out.
Thank you for
And
that.
a consideration for special population, FAPE, F-A-P-E, and IDEA, IDEA.
Yeah,
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
okay. Any other input or feedback, discussion? All right, and my question to the committee then is if those changes are made in the policy, are we okay moving forward with adopting it? All right. In that case, can I have a motion to adopt policy IKFE competency determination as amended?
So moved.
That to Jillian. Do I have a second?
Second.
That be Jen. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussions? All right, hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 All right, perfect, thank you. And then policy IHBB.
Yep, we made no updates this one. Just to clarify, it's about the providing middle schoolers their different choices for education and tech and vocab schools. No adjustments from previously.
Any input or feedback from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adopt policy IHBB middle school pathway exploration as written?
So moved.
And that was made by Jillian. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I'm going to give it to the policy committee, Jen Sears. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. All right, moving on to the minutes, looking at the minutes for September the 9th. Are there any amendment?
It looks like there's already been amendments. There's a lot of other writing on mine. And cross-outs, stuff in red, stuff highlighted. Am I the only one that has that?
No, we got it.
No.
So this has already been looked at by, why is that? Is that how Nicole normally
I
gives
don't,
it?
I
No.
don't, I didn't make the changes, so I would have to review it with, so just move this to.
Oh, normally, it's
Yeah.
normally just, now let me understand it. Normally, it gets done by Nicole Douglas. She gives it to the school committee secretary, and then she distributes it to us. Is that correct? All right, so who does?
It's also given to me,
Yes.
and usually I review it for, like factual errors, like I should have caught that you were at that meeting and voted yes, so I try to do a first
Well,
pass.
that's a violation of policy.
I do a first pass for grammatical and syntax errors.
No, policy says that that's not the way the minutes are handled. It says copies of the minutes will be sent to all the committee members 48 hours in advance. This is file BEDG. The recording secretary will send the draft minutes to the school committee secretary, who will distribute them to the whole school committee. It doesn't say that the chair gets a chance to take a look at this, make changes, make edits, and then gets to send it out. That's not the way the policy is. That's a violation of the policy. Again.
Well, we will table this one.
So, the only,
Is it the next one too?
the only,
No, just that one.
the only reference I would make to this is, any change that's actually been made is in red and is clearly identified. So the intent is not to change it, the intent is to provide more information. I didn't do it, so.
Yeah.
But again, we can table this, get the original copy, we'll send it to everybody, you can all have it. The problem we're gonna have with that is we're gonna have our secretary to the school committee dealing with 5 people wanting to make changes, and none of those changes, I guess, should be made until the meeting takes place.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be for open meeting law and for the policy. But even in the policy, maybe it's just the way that she's always done it. It seems very long to me, longer than what I remember them being. And really, under BEDG, there's very little actually that gets put into here. I mean, motions and that kind of stuff, but these long summaries aren't really what's meant to be in these minutes. So I don't know if maybe we
I-
just need to have a conversation with Ms. Douglas and ask, what her normal procedure is. This seems
Can
unusual.
I attempt
Yeah.
to comment on
please.
that? So I don't necessarily disagree with what you just said. There are conversations that are taking place within the conversations that really have nothing to do with this meeting, especially because the meeting is also available. It's taped forever, and minutes are taken forever, and the handouts are in the agendas. And if you look at other committees' minutes, it doesn't get as long-winded as our minutes are. So.
Right.
Through you to the chair, we could try to find other examples, that we could provide to your wonderful assistant.
No, she's great.
She does a great job.
Nothing on her.
But when
She's
you look,
appreciated. This is a lot of
right.
work.
So,
But it specifically said, I mean, I don't know if maybe you just want to take a photocopy of it, or just,
I get it.
point it
Let's-
to her and say, you don't have to get this involved, this is more work than what you have to do.
We just have to make sure that the essence of what was discussed at the committee is noted.
I don't even
Right.
think that that's, it says the minutes will include, I mean, I'm not going to read it, but, it's, there's very little that actually has to be put in there besides like motions and action taken.
I actually like it the way it is. I
It's
do.
more, it's got more information than
Right.
you typically do, but, so that's.
It is, but
you know,
you're
it's a
asking
good
her
ju-
to summarize
Well,
what we say.
it is a lot
And
more
it's
work.
not part of the policy.
Oh,
The
that's-
policy doesn't say that she should be summarizing what we discussed.
That's fine, that's why we review it, and if there is any issue, then we
And
can
I think that's
resolve
what
it.
Dr. Byetta is saying, is that review of 5 people trying to say that's not what I said,
Yeah, her-
becomes a lot.
The intent of this, the minutes, is the votes and the general discussion that you have, the actions that you throw forward, if you will, to the superintendent. For example, you want me to make sure I get a copy of a certain report to you. That should be in there, because you're asking me to do something. Either by vote or just by professional courtesy, I'm going to do it. So that's one. The other thing, too, is that the typical process for minutes should be that the minutes are put together, and then, to the best of the general sense of the committee, is you come into the meeting and you basically say, well, that number's wrong, or you forgot Julie at the meeting, Joe wasn't here, whatever the case may be. But you can't say, you're not supposed to say things like, well, my intent was, and then change it there. What you have to do is enter that into the record at the meeting you're at, to say, I'm just going on record that although it shows this in the minutes from last week that have been approved, I'm saying actually this. So now it's.
Well, the
somebody
minutes
can
aren't
follow.
approved until we approve them. So, and I certainly wouldn't approve minutes where something that I said was summarized in a way that I didn't feel was accurate. So that's why I'm saying the minutes should actually be very short and specific as per our policy, is basically what I'm saying. But asking Ms. Douglas to summarize everything that we're saying and then, be like, I didn't say that.
What was the letter on that policy, so I can share, if you don't
It's
mind?
policy BEDG.
Thank you.
It's right at the beginning.
Yep.
Something everyone can read.
I will share it, and we'll attempt to make corrections to see if the will of the committee is the will of the committee.
Or the
How's that?
policy is followed.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
thank you for raising that. So the September 9th, we're going to table for now.
She could summarize that.
The 23rd, any amendments to the minutes on the 23rd?
Was this also changed by you?
This wasn't changed by anybody. There's no changes made. This comes
Well,
directly
it
from.
might not be in red, but was any, because it's also,
It's my understanding that there was no changes made to this. But again, if you want to table it, I can ask that and say, is this only yours? What you could also do going forward, if you so choose, is you could we could have, where it says respectfully submitted, and then the name of your recording secretary is potentially, she emails me and I put an initial on it that says no changes have been made by anyone except for her.
it shouldn't, that per policy, it shouldn't be changed by anyone but her. She
That's-
should be the only one. And then we change it here in open meeting.
Correct.
In front of everyone. So,
We
but
can
there
hold that
shouldn't
too.
be much to do on it. But yeah, some of the wording on here, I looked at, I'm like, geez, I don't normally hear her write things like this.
I will, if the will of the committee is to table both, I will make sure I get back to you for the next meeting on process and what hopefully it'll look like.
Yeah, you can review the policy or have her, or, yeah, absolutely, let's just do things the right way.
Okay.
Okay. Well, with that, we're at the end of our meeting. Next regular meeting of the school committee is October 28th, 2025 at 6 PM here at the district office. Can I have a motion to adjourn? It was made by Armando. Do I have a second? Second. It's made by Jen. Moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. The meeting is adjourned at
8:41.
8:41.